Great. So good morning once again to everyone. 36 participants. That is shockingly a lot. So welcome everyone once again to another class. So as you see on the screen, we'll be continuing chapter 7.3. And we're basically continuing to look at how do we develop a spreadsheet. What are the different features, the different options that we have when using a spreadsheet. Now, well, obviously these are some of the questions that you need to ask yourself when you are creating a spreadsheet. But one of the main things you need to take away from this chapter is also to differentiate between a function and a formula. And we would have looked at a few definitions for both of them. So can anyone tell me, if it was an exam question, how would you describe the difference between a function and a formula? How would you describe it? No one?
Sir, a function is something that is built in the computer, and formula is something you create.
Good, I like that. Good. Anyone wants to add to that? So Brittany said something built into the computer. Anyone wants to add what is that something that is built into the computer or built into the software?
Sir, it's a matter.
I didn't hear that. Come on, I'm not going to give you guys the answer. You guys need to put the pieces together. You guys need to start learning. I can't be giving you everything every time. This is about the third time we're reviewing.
Sir, a function is sir,
Yes, Robert, go ahead.
sir, a function is a built-in mathematical formula.
Good, very good. So what would be the formula now? If a function is a built-in mathematical equation or built-in mathematical formula, what would be a formula?
A formula is an equation designed by the user.
Exactly, very good. I like that one. So that is one difference that you have there. A function is a built-in mathematical equation. We already looked at that in 7.2. The equation is built into Excel, whereas a formula, you are designing that equation. So you are going to say basically 6 times 6 or plus 7, whatever the case may be. You are creating that formula. Now please remember, I'm at school, so I'm using the school Wi-Fi. And if you guys didn't understand or hear anything clearly that I said, let me know if I need to go it over again for you to clarify, for me to clarify what I said. All right, so the function is the built-in formula or the built-in equation, and the formula is one that you will create. So there's one difference there. Now, when it comes to operators, I'm gonna give you guys a hint. Um, these operators here that we're going to use is the difference between a function. What is another difference between a function and a formula?
Sir, formulas use operators and functions don't.
Exact. Try again. You're almost there.
So the functions use the operators and the formulas don't.
Let's see. It's all about how you phrase it, basically. Robert is correct, but I was looking more for something more specific. All right, so let's try to simplify the question. Um, in a formula, do you see the operator?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you see the operator. So an example of a formula is basically what you're seeing on the screen right now. Equal A1 plus A2. You are seeing the operator. You are seeing that plus. You're seeing that minus. You're seeing that multiplication. But function, will you see the operator?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
No, you will not see that operator. So basically, when you are creating, okay, National. National, when you have, okay, yeah, inheritance. Um, so when you're creating a function, you do not use the operators. Yes, the function is using it behind the scenes because remember, it is basically created in the background. So when you are creating the function, when you are typing out the function, for example, when we were looking at the average function, we did not have to type any operator. We did not have to type plus, division, and so on because we know when we're calculating average, what are the two operators that are used?
I think
I think Robert said something. I don't know if it's
I don't know. Either
Sir, I don't.
multiplication or division or
yes. Give me 1 second.
addition and subtraction.
Yes, sorry about that. Somebody called me. I think my internet is very slow, and I don't know if you guys are hearing me with a delay, but I'm hearing some of you with a delay. Um, I just lost my internet connection. Can you guys hear me? Alright, can you guys hear me?
yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Um, the school's internet, we all should know that it's not that healthy. So I just noticed I got disconnected and I'm back again. So if you guys, once again, if you know you're not hearing me or you missed something, please let me know. Did you guys hear that?
Yes, sir.
Great. So the last thing we were talking about is in the average function, what two operators are inside of that function. And some of you said the plus and the division. So those two operators, they are used in the function, but when we are creating the function, we do not type those operators. They are built into the function. The function knows that it needs to use these two operators here. So we don't need to tell it to use it. So there's another difference there you can take note of between a function and a formula. When you are creating a formula, you are going to type the operators, whatever operator is going to be used, and when you are creating a function, you do not type the operator. You do not use the operator. It's already built into the function. So you have two differences there that we looked at. Um, is there another difference? Equation is built in. You have to create equation. Yeah. As we go on and I remember any more differences, I'll let you know. So we should remember for both function and formula, these are the basically what we can use for the calculation. We can use values, we can use the cell addresses or the cell names, and we can use the combination of the two. Now, whichever we use will always depend on the situation. Because, for example, in spreadsheet, if we're going to type values into a cell, for example, if we're going to type 5 here and 6 there, then obviously we can use these cell addresses to do our calculation. But if we're just creating a quick formula, 6 times 6, then we don't need to use the cell addresses. It's just a quick formula to get a quick calculation. So it all depends on the situation and which is going to be the most effective for what you are creating. Because sometimes you might be creating it just for any random reason, but then for a professional reason. Are you doing it for an assignment? Are you doing it for as a job? Then you're going to need to think about what would be the most effective use to, what would be the most effective option to choose, basically. So we started functions. We already looked at what is average. We looked at what is count and count A. We looked at what is count if. We looked at date. I think we stopped at, I think it was before if. We stopped at count if. Okay. Okay, good. We stopped at count if. Right. All right. So can anyone tell me what is the difference between count and count A? What is the difference between count and count A?
Sir, count to count function are used.
Yes, Robert, go ahead.
Sir, the count function is used to count other data such as text or non-blank cells.
Good. I think once again my internet is breaking up, so but I think you said it correctly. Count only counts numbers, whereas count A, you can say it counts any other data. So whether that be number, whether that be text, whether that be symbols, whatever the case may be, count A will count it. Count A counts anything in the cell and count this count value. Yes, that's correct, nice shot. Great. So if a cell is empty, will it be counted?
No, sir.
No. So it doesn't matter which one of the count functions you're using. If it is empty, it will not be counting. So in a nutshell, what would you say it is actually counting? These count functions, count A and count, what are they actually counting? If you think about it. Yes, Emmanuel?
Yeah. With the money, the dollar signs, like the money. Wait.
Naishal says content. Not so much only money. Anyone else?
Sir, data.
Data. Okay, good, good. So it counts content, it counts data. So the count function basically counts what is in a cell. It doesn't matter if the value is a long string of numbers. It doesn't matter if it's a long string of characters. It's not counting how much data is in the cell. It is counting if data is in the cell. Because if we were to do an equal count right now, and we highlighted these two cells, and we put a range, we're going to notice we only get one. If I change this over to number, we only get one. Right, so after I was disturbed, the last thing I was talking about is what does the count function count? And I was saying that the count function basically counts if data is in a cell. So, for example, it doesn't matter if I type these long string of numbers, it doesn't count all of those numbers. It just counts if data is inside of the cell. So this is one piece of data, this is another piece of data. That's one at the top there, this is another one at the bottom there. Hence, we have two. That is all the count function does. So practically, how would you use it in a practical case? Well, say for example, let's see, right now, I export this class and open it up. I already have it. So right now I have a bunch of you in class. So the particular data over here. So this is just an example. Say I wanted to count how many students are in class right now. I can do equal count. Which one of the count functions would be most suitable in this case here?
Sir, counting.
Count A. Very good. So that's going to be equal count A. So I want to count how many students currently in my class. Highlight that entire range. Enter. And I have 16. Well, this is not the updated list, but this is just an example of how you can use the count and the count A function to count a list of data that you might have. Great. So what we have to continue with now is the count if function. How does the count if work? Feedback. Let me see if we need to close anything else. Close that. Great. So we're gonna start with the count if function. So count if you notice, it starts with that same count function. So you should by now understand this part of it. Count. And if you notice, argument range of cells matches the count A and the count function. It looks the same. It's because it's basically functioning the same. But if you notice, it's not count A if. It is count if. So can anybody tell me, make a guess what's going to be counting? Anyone? What will count if count? What type of data? The 9 of you and not one of you can make a guess.
Sir, data that's the criteria.
Data that meets the criteria, good. But more specifically, what exactly will it count? It said it's count if, not count A if. So what type of data will it count? Remember, we have two types of data.
Sir, values.
That data criteria.
Sir, numeric data.
But I think my internet is slow, so I think some of you are saying things and I'm not hearing anything. Values, numbers, that is correct.
So like, and numbers, like data in the forms of numbers.
Yes, Emmanuel, that's correct. Because remember, we just talked about count function is going to count numbers, and count A would count any other type of data. So count if is only going to be counting numbers. And as somebody mentioned, it's going to be counting those numbers based on a criteria. Now this word criteria, can anybody tell me what do you think the word criteria is, or what it means? Or
Sir, like conditions that you follow.
God, I like that word, condition. Anyone else? This mouse is just terrible computers to go in.
Sir, requirements.
Requirements, good, I like that one too. This mouse is terrible. I have no control of this mouse. Yes, anyone else? A specific thing needed, something.
Volatility.
Probability, okay. And the one I like to use the most, my rule, I like to use the most is question. I like to use this one a lot when I am talking about criteria. This is a term that you need to remember throughout IT. We're going to be looking at this term in spreadsheets. You're going to see it more often. We're going to look at it in which part did you miss, Nigel? Let me switch Wi-Fi. I'm going to try this Wi-Fi and see how it works. Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, sir. Hearing you
Yes,
now.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I switched Wi-Fi, so if this one doesn't work also, let me know. Okay, you hear me properly now? Okay, because it seems this Wi-Fi is a little bit good. So what I was asking all the time is what would count if count? So we said that count if is going to count numbers because it basically matches this count function here that we have in top. But it's going to look for a criteria. And I asked the question, what are the criteria? Some of you said conditions, some of you said requirements, some of you said something specific. And I said, I like to use this term question.
Sorry, you just disappeared for a moment there.
Yes, I saw the Wi-Fi got disconnected. If I switched to this node, it was far the Wi-Fi, so I guess the signal was lost. Give me a second, let me try for this other Wi-Fi
All right.
and see how that is gonna work. Alright, we're going to have to stick to this Wi-Fi and basically try to work with it. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Alright, here's what to do. If at any point I break up once again, just type it in the chat because I might not hear you. So just type it in the chat and let me know that I'm breaking. So, the last thing I was talking about
Sir.
is that for the count if function, it will count the numbers based on a criteria. And a criteria is basically like if you're asking a question. You're asking a question. And how the function works is, as it mentioned here, it counts the numbers of cells that meet that criteria. So if there is data in the cell and it meets the criteria, it is going to count those cells. So, for example, we have equal count if, we have our range of cells, and we have our criteria. Now notice here with this criteria, it's in double quotation marks. It's very important to remember that the criteria must be in double quotation marks. If not, it will not work. So in the future, you might come across this problem. You might come to me and say, "Sir, my function is not working. My formula is not working," and it could simply be because you didn't use your quotation marks. So some functions require it, some do not. So it's up to you to remember which ones require it. So when you're using a criteria in this function, it's going to require that double quotation mark. And notice the question is asking is there any number less than 10? That is the question, or that is the criteria. As a condition, is there numbers less than 10? As a requirement. So let's look at an example. So I'm going to put a few numbers, and I'm going to use the COUNTIF function. So equal COUNTIF, and I'm going to highlight the range and open my bracket, my quotation mark, my less than sign, and the number 10. Close quotation mark, close my bracket, and I've completed my formula there. So this is my count if. Are you guys following up to that? Good. So
Yes, sir.
notice this is the range of data that I'm counting. So it's 6 cells, I numbered 1 to 6, and it's counting if any value is less than 10. If it meets that criteria, it's going to count the cells. So if I actually start typing in 10, notice the count if is going to start reducing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Now the cells, the range have data inside of it. We can see that as our range, it has data, but it does not meet our criteria. It does not meet the question. Is it less than 10? No, it is not less than 10, so it will not count it. That's why you're seeing 0 there. If it was greater than 10, that is our criteria now. Is there any value in these cells greater than 10? Yes. We have 5 values that are greater than 10. So, this can be an example of, say for example, you have a range of money, a range of items. Say for example, we have a pencil. A pencil is worth 500. A ruler is about 400. A chair is about 300. Desk is about say 600. I got it wrong, yes. Good. So a case we could use this is maybe we want to know if we can afford an item. So we might say count equal count if we highlight our range. Say we only got 500. So we want to know, does it have any item less than 500 that I can buy with my needs 500? Yes. We have 2 items less than 500. We have the ruler, we have the chair, 2 of them that I can afford with my $500. Say somebody fight me and they took away my 500 and they gave me back 400. So is there any items less than 400? Yes, I have one of those items. So that's just a simple example. as to how you can use the count if function. Now, are you guys following up to that point?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So, when it comes to criteria, remember I said there's some questions you're going to be asking. Now, there's some other questions that you should remember. So, these are basically the questions that you'll be asking. These are the criteria. So, you're going to be asking if something is less than, if something is greater than, if something is equal to. So, for example, we could say is it equal to 400? Then yes, we have one item that's equal to 400, so it meets that criteria. Or we could also ask, we think would be some other questions similar to less than, greater than, equal to. Less,
It's less than or equal to.
right? Less than, equal to. Somebody says less than, more than, equal to. Good. More than, equal to. And then there's also not equal to. So this is basically the symbol that we will use. It's not equal to. So to see how that would look, this is what the equal sign would be, and not equal to would be the double arrows that you see here. Is it not equal to? So that's going to be not equal to 400. So we have three values here that are not equal to 400. Or is it less than, equal to 400? Yes, we have two of them. We have 300 and we have 400 here. That is less than and equal to 400. Now I'm noticing Aisha saying that we did count function. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
So why you guys didn't say anything?
We need a recap of it, maybe.
So where did we stop? That is what I was trying to figure out. Where did we stop?
The count
We had
if
10
function.
bits.
No, we did stop at count. Naisha, we did stop at count. Alright, but that's that I was recapping count. Alright, so I guess that is it for the count if. As it basically you need to know for the three types of counts. Count A is going to count any text or values or so on. Count is only going to count values. Count if will count values, but only based on that criteria. And remember, these are your criteria. If something is less than, if it's more than, less than, equal to, more than, equal to, is it equal to, or is it not equal to? Alright, you guys use me again?
Sure.
I really need to find another location.
Yes, sir. You just search just cut off.
Alright, but all I was saying is that these are the criterias that you're going to follow. Alright, let's let's look at the last function. For today, we're going to look at date, the date function. Now, the syntax for date is equal date, the year, the month, and the day. So these values, it combines values in 3 cells to produce the date. So we're going to actually type in the 3 values into the spreadsheet, and then it uses those values to make the date. Now, as I was telling some students the other day, I'm not quite sure what is the necessity of having a function like this here, other than to automatically change the date. For example, if we type in, because we have to type in the date values, we're going to type in the year, we're going to type in the month, and we're going to type in the date. So we typed in 3 values, and our date function is going to be equal date, and notice the first argument is going to be the year. So we have to select that year cell, comma, then the months, comma, and then day. And then we complete that, and we have our dates. Now, we know that we could easily type in 04 December 2021, and we get the date also. So what is the significance of using the date function? Well, it could be because it's just like a formula. If you were to change one of the values, it will automatically update the dates. So if I change a year, it will change also. Whereas this date here, I have to constantly go into it and make the necessary changes to it. So with the function also, it's important to remember the order of the syntax, because if you do not put it in the correct order, it will not show up correctly. For example, what we use today, 2021, today is the 10th month, today is 12. So this is our date for today. Now, if you mix up the cells, say for example, we put A3 first, and then A1, and then A2. Notice what we have here. We have an incorrect date. The calendar of special days and events. Let's see. It's possible, Naisha, it's possible, because the only thing I can think of is that if your spreadsheet requires you to document date, then if you're going to be typing out a lot of date, keeping track of a lot of date, I guess that's going to be the use case. So if, for example, a date changes, you could easily update in the cell instead of troubling the formula once again. Because remember, that's what we try to avoid, affecting the format of the formula. So just changing the date in the cell could work to our advantage. But notice here, when we put it in the wrong order, we get the wrong date. So it's important to put it in the correct order. The cell that has the year, the cell that has the month, and the cell that has the day. So that's the date function. Now the last function is going to be the today's date function. This is one of the you can say the more useful date function. So equal today, open and close brackets, and we have today's date. So you have today's date there. Now notice, this is one of those functions that does not require any arguments. We simply, but we must have that open and close brackets in order for it to function still. So remember um, the general layout of a function. We must have equal sign, we must have the name of the function, and we must have arguments in our brackets. But not all functions require arguments. So in this case here, our today function does not require any arguments. Today basically we have no arguments. Alright, so are you guys following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Alright, so we got wrap up here for today. Next time I'm gonna try to find a better location with hopefully better Wi-Fi. So in review of what we looked at for today, remember the difference. Please remember the difference between a function and a formula. Please remember the difference between a function and a formula. For all functions, you must remember how it works, what it does, what does the function do, and what is the syntax of that function. So, what is inside of the brackets basically. For example, average is range of cells, count A and count, range of cells, but they're more complicated functions, like for example, count if, that requires two arguments, range of cells and criteria. And then we also look at dates. So next class we're going to start with if. So somebody please remember that in this class. Any questions before we close off?
No, sir.
Alright. If no questions, we're going to close off here for today. Enjoy the rest of your day.